So, Esther, we'd like to ask Abraham to come and speak to us.
Okay. It just takes a few seconds. I won't move much, please. It is nice to have an opportunity to visit. Mm-hmm. And bright.
Well, I have some questions for you, and I hope you'll excuse my nervousness. This is actually my first interview with a group of beings from another dimension.
You will like it.
Okay. The first question I want to ask is a question I'm going to ask for others, and that is, how can we believe this? How can we believe that one person can close their eyes and concentrate, and suddenly there's someone else there? Help me with that.
Well, we would rather that you believed something even more than that, and that is that not just one person can do that, but all persons can and do. You are all extensions of source energy. And so you could never separate yourself from the stream of consciousness that is really you. It is just that many of you have formed such barricades or separation. You see yourself so separately. And when you release those barriers and allow who you really are to begin flowing, that's when your life really becomes fun. You cannot separate yourself from that which you really are. Esther cannot separate herself from that which is Abraham.
And in terms that hopefully we can understand, who and what is Abraham, if you can help me with that a little bit more.
Well, words are tricky because from your physical format, you are accustomed to seeing things from your physical point of view. But we are non-physical consciousness. We are source energy. We are vibration. We are thought. We are not so different from you. You are an extension of that which we are. Everything that is physical is an extension of that which is source, you see. And so we are just a purer form of the energy that is actually you, meaning we do not have thoughts of resistance that keep us from being that which is a vibrational match to source, while in your physical form, sometimes you do.
Well, have you ever been human?
Well, the question has a misunderstanding at its basis that we want to clarify first, and that is to say that everything that is physical is an extension of that which is non-physical. Physical friends often look at life from their physical format and they think, well, it's either dead or alive, so it's either physical or non-physical, when in reality it is always non-physical, and sometimes that non-physical focus is focused into the physical. So the question, have you ever been physical, implies that we are not, right now, physical, while Esther and Jerry and you and so many others are the physical extension of that which we are. It's sort of like saying to your toaster, why don't you be the electrical current also? And the toaster says, I'm the toaster, the electrical current will be the electrical current. And we're wanting you to understand that source energy will always be source energy. But source energy expresses itself in physical form all around you.
Why the name Abraham?
The process that Esther uses to interpret for us is a process where she receives blocks of thought, sort of like downloading to a computer, if you will, like radio signals. And Esther receives the block of thought at an unconscious level and then finds, also at an unconscious level, the physical word equivalent. So even the label Abraham was a label that Esther fashioned at an unconscious level because it was the best descriptive word that explained easily in one label, like you want your names to be, that which we are. In other words, we are at the heart of every religion that exists. We've been around for a very long time, and so it was just the best name. It also puts us first in the phone book.
You're obviously going to have people that just have trouble believing this. I'm kind of coming back to the same question, but is there a way, a proof, you know, something that you could do or say, I guess a prediction that comes through later would be an example, or something that we could do and say that would prove this is all?
Well, we always encourage our physical friends who are sincere in their wanting to know to set forth an intent for something and hold their thoughts upon it and watch how the universe knocks itself out to accommodate them. If you are asking for proof of our existence, that's hard. Esther said, Abraham, there surely must be something. And we say, there is nothing that we could offer in the form of proof that someone would not find a way of discrediting in some way. And so we are not so interested that you believe in our existence as we are interested that you come to adore your own. It is not important to us that you understand who we are or that you identify us in any way that is particularly meaningful to you. But if we can say something that helps you to reconnect with who you really are, then the way your life flows and expresses will be all of the proof that you will ever need. The proof that we would like you to seek and find is the proof that you are a worthy being, that you're blessed, and that good things are supposed to come to you, and that you are an extension of source energy, and that source energy is always there and available to you and flowing through you. We want you to prove to yourself your rightness and your wellness and your blessedness. And
how do we go about doing that?
By recognizing that in this environment, when a desire for something is born within you, that you have guidance that lets you know in every moment whether or not in that moment you are in alignment with your own desire. By utilizing your emotional guidance system to bring you vibrationally back on track with your own desire.
When you say emotional guidance system, could you tell me a little bit more about what you mean there?
Well, before that will make sense to you, we want to say to you that you and everyone you know, in fact, everything you see, is vibrationally based, everything. And you, in your physical form, are vibration. Your physical senses are interpreters of vibration. What you see with your eyes is a vibrational interpretation. That's why you see. What you hear, even what you feel with your fingertips or taste with your tongue or smell with your nose, these are all translators of vibration. You have another sensor that you are well aware of. You talk about it all the time as physical humans, and that is your emotion. Your emotion is a very sophisticated sensor of vibration. So when you are in any moment giving your attention to something that is causing you to be in alignment with who you really are, in other words, a perfect extension of this source energy, allowing God force to flow through you purely and in non-resisted way. When you are doing that, your emotion lets you know that you are doing that, and that's the emotion that feels wonderful. That's what love is, or appreciation. But when you feel frustration or anger or despair, any of those stronger negative emotions, what that always means is your attention in this moment has you offering a vibration in this moment that is out of sync with who you really are. And so you've set some resistance up within yourself that is not allowing your pure connection. So that's what we mean when we say, if you are looking for proof, What we want you to prove to yourself is that you have easy, ready, constant, steady, always available access to source energy. It's always there for you. And with the tweaking much less than it takes you to learn Quicken on your computer, you can bring yourself steadily and constantly into vibrational alignment with the source that is really you. And then you usually are not asking for proof. We know you are asking on behalf of those who would be wondering that. But when you are aligned with source, you don't need proof because you just know. Things turn out well for you. You thrive, you see. Thriving is natural to you. Not thriving is not natural.
You do these workshops and you're being asked hundreds of questions all the time. What are the predominant things people are asking you?
Well, it is interesting. Most people, and we like it this way, it is natural that it be this way, most people are asking personal questions about their own experience. It is interesting, in all of the gatherings that we've had since 9/11, it rarely comes up. People are wanting to know, how can they make their own life better? How can they attract more money? How can they find a perfect mate? How can they improve their bodily conditions? How can they find fulfilling work? Those are the primary things that most people are selfishly asking. And when we say selfishly asking, we mean that as an extreme compliment because you can only see through the eyes of self. And when you ask, it is always given. But most people are asking for improvement in different areas of their life and then holding themselves without realizing or meaning to do it in vibrational difference to what they are asking for. And then they try to use their action to make up the difference. And that's why so many people are frustrated. And it's also why they assign so much credit to so many outside forces that are fictional.
And are you able to help these people that ask questions in general? Do people that are asking these different personal questions feel that they've been helped after speaking with you?
Some do, some not. It depends upon if someone is asking. Here is the reason that we say that some do not. As you are living the contrast of your day-to-day experience, sometimes you're standing in a place you really don't want to be. And in the midst of that contrast is always born a powerful desire. Now, in the moment that that desire is born, even if you do not speak it, you radiate it vibrationally. Source energy hears that request and begins answering it immediately. But so many humans standing in the place that they do not want to be. Even though they've launched the rocket of desire, they continue to talk about where they are, which is not the place that they want to be, often justifying why they need the answer to their prayer or why they need the fulfillment of the request from someone, not realizing that in every moment that they are continuing to beat the drum of what is going wrong, they are holding themselves vibrationally apart from what it is that they are wanting. So, if they are patient and willing to listen, and willing to practice some of what we are offering, many of them discover that when they turn their attention to what they want and begin speaking of what they want and pretending that it is happening, or imagining that it is happening, or try to remember a time when something like it was happening, as they begin to achieve a vibrational essence with their desire, then the universe gives them the proof that they're seeking. The universe then yields to them what they're asking for. There are 3 steps, very simple steps. The first step to creating anything that you want. The first step is you must ask, but it doesn't mean you have to ask with words. You just have to be in a situation where desire radiates from you, which is every waking moment of every point of consciousness. You're asking constantly. So step 1 is taken care of automatically by your exposure to your contrasting life experience. Step 2 is not your work. Step 2 is source will answer what you're asking for. Circumstances and events go immediately into place. All kinds of things begin to move. Heaven and earth moves to yield to you what you're asking for. Every time, no exceptions. Step 3 is really what our work is about. Step 3 is where you must now find somehow, some way to be a vibrational match to your own desire. So someone says, I want more money. And we say, And what would it be like if you had more money? And they often say, well, it's so hard to be without money. And we say, but what would it feel like to have more money? And they say, well, it wouldn't feel like it feels with not enough money. It's hard for them. This is the hardest part of this. It's hard to, all of a sudden, stop offering a vibration that you've been practicing for a very long time. And so many people have been trying to justify the good that will come to them by pointing out what's wrong with where they are. And so we call our gatherings the art of allowing. And what it is really about is the art, and we call it an art because you have to practice it, the art of bringing yourself into vibrational alignment with who you really are, which feels really good, and what you want. And with time, many people are beginning to discover that just by looking at things a little differently, and most important, by wanting more than anything to feel good. When you say nothing is more important than that I feel good, then and only then are you willing to find a way of looking at things that holds you in a vibrational place that then allows what you are asking for in. If you could see an aerial view of your life experiences as we do, you would see all of those wonderful things that you've been asking for lined up right outside your door. And if you just open the door a little bit, they begin to flood in. So often people come to our gatherings and they are skeptical, but they are desirous. And as they open the door just a little bit with some of the techniques that we teach, things they've been asking for begin flowing in. And before long, they begin to know their own power. They begin to trust in their own ability to achieve anything that they want. They begin to feel that they can be or do or have anything. And most importantly, they return to the joyous beings that they really are. And they begin to notice that negative emotion is the anomaly, and that joy is what is most natural and most steadily their experience.
Well, what about people that are, circumstances are not circumstances that they didn't set up? Someone who is born into a war-torn area, or someone, or a poverty area. That, could you speak of that?
Well, the most difficult thing for most people to understand about someone else's difficulty is that what you are all feeling in all moments, the emotions that you feel, is always the barometer, if you will, the vibrational indicator between the desire that you hold and your current perspective. So someone who was born into an area like that has a different desire than you might living in. In other words, you could go to an underdeveloped country and see them living as they are, and your desire for their improved life experience would be much greater than their desire for their improved life experience, because you know the possibilities. So when you go there, your desire for them would shoot off the charts. And if you were to watch them as they are currently living, you might suffer greatly, because your desire for them would be vibrating in one place and your awareness of where they are is in another, and you would feel a strong vibrational discord about that, where the separation between what they're living and what they want to live is not so great for them. That's why there are joyful people who live in poverty, and there are unhappy people who live in prosperity.
Esther has tried to explain it, but I wondered if you could take a stab at explaining this whole process of channeling for us. I know you've said that we can all do it, I guess, is the way you're putting it, but maybe you could get into that a little bit more.
Well, you understand it very well when you think about turning on your radio and receiving a signal that's being broadcast from a tower. And you know that you cannot set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.6 FM. The frequencies have to match up if you are going to receive what's being transmitted. So this is the same sort of thing. Source energy, that which we are, non-physical energy or consciousness or infinite intelligence, there are many different labels, is pure positive energy. From your point of view, you would not find any resistance within the vibration that is us. So if you want to interact with us, you must bring your vibrational frequency into vibrational range of that which we are. Esther achieved that through meditation. She sat, and for several months, for 15 or 20 minutes every day, she did her best to quiet her mind, which meant she stopped thought. And by stopping thought, she stopped any resistance in her vibration. And so her vibration gradually and steadily began to raise until it acclimated to the point of that which is her source. In other words, she literally returned to the vibration of her origin, which then meant that the process of communication was seamless. Then, as we thought the thought, Esther received the thought, you see.
To me, stopping thought seems as impossible as stopping breathing. I mean, you know, I'm speaking for myself here, but my head's going all the time.
We understand that, and it is with very good reason that you say that, because you've trained yourself to be responsive. You are responsive to the stimulation that surrounds you, and that observation and that focusing really is what you were born to do. You are a thinker. In fact, we are not wanting to teach you not to think, because thinking is the way you mold the energy. It is the way you mold the creative clay. It is the way you create your own reality. But you may discover that when you decide that you're going to quiet your mind, that if you will choose a thought that is not a tremendously active thought, focus upon your own breathing, or focus upon the ring in the air conditioner, or focus upon the dripping of a faucet, or the flickering of a candle. Focus upon something that requires enough attention that you don't go to sleep, but not so much attention that you're off on all kinds of tangents that activate vibrations within you that keep you from your connection. Esther found that she could find a note. That's why people ohm. She found a note, different notes at different times, but that's the note that she settled on most comfortably. And once she found the note, she concentrated on holding the note. She didn't do it audibly, but once she found it, she just tried to remember that note in her mind. And by remembering that note, her mind was then occupied enough that she was not off on all kinds of resistant tangents. We teach meditation, or quieting the mind, because it is really easier to teach you to have no thought than it is to teach you to have pure positive thought. We would rather that you be in a state of appreciation than in a state of meditation, because in appreciation you are a vibrational match to your source also. But there is a jump from despair or anger all the way to appreciation, and it is a shorter jump from despair to no thought at all.
In the world today, America is, some people outside of America, they view America as this sort of big, powerful schoolyard bully that's going around and imposing their will everywhere.
America deserves that reputation.
But then the reverse is also true, that there are many people around the world that hate Americans and will do anything to wipe them off the face of the earth. So...
And America deserves that as well.
So where does this leave us?
Well, we're playing with you just a little bit in this sense. When you see someone who behaves in a way that is upsetting to you, and you cannot do anything about it, that feeling of powerlessness that comes over you is the strongest factor in disconnecting from your source energy. In other words, in this range of emotion, we won't get too far off the track of your question, but we're wanting to give you a basis here. In the range of emotions, which ranges all the way from utter despair all the way to that joyous appreciation and love, the factor that is within all of that range is, in appreciation and love, there is a perception of empowerment and freedom. And in the despair, there is a perception of disempowerment or bondage or no freedom. All of your emotions are about that, you see. So when you view a country or when you view a bully and you see them as wielding power, which makes you feel powerless, the emotion that rises within you is the most uncomfortable of sensations, because you are in that moment perceiving yourself as not powerful. When we say America or some bully deserves that reputation, then what we want to say to you is, but whether they deserve it or not, your attention to that aspect of them and the subsequent powerlessness that comes over you is the way you introduce resistance into your experience and disempower yourself.
So should we ignore what's going on?
It is not possible to be part of the world that experiences the contrast without desire being born within you. But as quickly as you can turn your attention to what it is you would prefer. In other words, it's just like the example that we offered earlier, where someone wants more money. They are having a hard time. They can't pay their bills. They are in a very bad financial situation. And out of that is born powerful desire for more money. If they could turn their attention to the idea of money, to the idea of how it would feel to have the dollars flowing easily, and therefore away from the feeling and the vibration of not enough money, the change in their vibration would then allow their improved situation. And that's true of any individual, and it's true of the world in general. There is a war against drugs, and a war against poverty, and a war against crime, and a war against teenage pregnancy, and a war against terrorism, and a war against AIDS, and all of them are getting bigger. Because in this world that is attraction-based, there is no such thing as exclusion. When you look at something you want and you say yes to it, you include it in your vibration, and things like it flow into your experience. When you look at something you do not want and you shout no at it, you include it in your vibration, because in this vibrational-based universe, there's no such thing as no. So the more you focus upon what you do not want, the more you offer a vibration that matches it, and the more of that you get, you see. So Jesus said, turn the other cheek, ignore, you say. And we say that's exactly what Jesus was talking about, and so many teachers that have come before.
But turning the other cheek, you can only ignore so much if someone is threatening your physical survival.
We know that most people are looking at life in a very action-oriented way. And it seems like if someone is aggressively coming at you, that you should defend yourself in some way. But what we are wanting you to understand, that whether you have reason to feel that way or not, when you feel that way, you have activated a vibration within you that keeps you from allowing the well-being that you are asking for. In other words, you cannot beat the drum of what is going wrong and let in what is going right. So, as people around the world see a plane crash into the Twin Towers, the majority of people around the world did not have that experience and did not need to be vibrationally affected by that experience. But because of your technology and your hunger and thirst for information, most people around the world had access to that information and are now having a vibrational response to what happened. And the vibrational response to what happened begets more. And then that begets more, and then that begets more.
But is it not human nature? I mean, the simplest example is a car accident. You're approaching a car accident on the highway, and it looks like it might be quite horrific. And part of you doesn't want to see anything horrific, but there seems to be this other part that just can't help but look.
Well, you are focusing mechanisms. You are creators. You've come forth to devour your time-space reality. It's the way you identify what you want. You would not be able to know what you do want if you did not know what you don't want. A question that people ask often is, if we all come forth as physical humans from source energy, and source energy is this heavenly place where all is well and it's only pure positive emotion, why would we come forth into an environment of contrast to begin with? And we say because the contrast inspires the clear desire, and the desire that is born out of the contrast is what puts the eternalness in eternity. In other words, the new desire being born is what summons the new life force. So all of you knew that this would be an environment of contrast, and you knew that there would be things that would happen that would give birth to powerful desires within you. And what goes wrong for most humans is, once the desire is born, instead of turning their undivided attention toward the desire and achieving vibrational alignment with it, which would, by the way, bring immediate response from all that is and would lead them into the glorious life experience that they have desired, most turn and look at the problem that gave birth to the desire and continue to beat the drum of that. And so it's a very big story. It's a very big understanding. Little by little, people come to understand, if they are willing to pay attention to the way they feel, that you cannot look at things that make you feel terrible and create a wonderful world. And this world is full of as many creators as it is full of as many perceivers. In other words, you don't have to wait for the entire world to figure this out for you to live a wonderful life experience. We know, we see so many wonderful teachers and leaders suffering because they feel guilt over the joyful life that they are living, because they do not have the power to bring every person on the planet to the same joyful life that they are living. And we say, you teach through the clarity of your example, and you offer the vibration of well-being, and you speak it as often as you can. And when someone asks, you explain to them how you've come to know it, and that your life is better because you work to hold your thoughts in places that feel good to you. And in time, one by one, more and more are coming to know that. But we agree with you. There are large numbers of people who still approach life not vibrationally, but in terms of action and in terms of retaliation. They talk one thing. They speak of love and peace and kinder and gentler while they drop their bombs. And they drop their bombs from their point of insecurity every single time. We've never seen anyone drop a bomb or yield a punch or hurt another who was not in a place of severe insecurity when they did it, you see. And so the solution to war and what will bring about peace is the soothing of the insecurity that is at the heart of all of that action, you see. And so you're right. When you are standing in the midst of something, when you've done nothing about your vibration, you haven't even heard about it, you don't even know you're a vibrational being, you know you have emotions, but you don't know what they're telling you, you're just responsive to the things you see. We understand why when you see things that make you feel good, you want more of those, and when you see things that make you feel bad, you want fewer of those. We certainly understand your approach, the reason that you would want to push things away. We just know that you can't push things away because this world is based upon law of attraction, you see.
Now you mentioned that many people are coming to this more positive place of being.
You're all born there. You are all born knowing that. And all of the beasts of your planet still remember it. And humans are having a reawakening.
Well, I was going to say, this is a general question, but is the world getting to be a better place? Or, I mean...
The world is a lovely place, and it is not broken. And when you look at things that are not going well, we know, and you amplify them, and you exaggerate them, and you tell them to everyone every day. Not you, but you. You create a very distorted view of this magnificent time-space reality where well-being is enormous in relationship to what is not going well. Your world will continue to survive, and for the most part, you will continue to thrive. And those who find something to fuss about and disallow their well-being, to the degree that they fuss, they disallow their well-being. But then new ones are born, remembering who they are. And little by little, the dilution ratio becomes greater and greater. This is the time of awakening. We did not come forth to fix a broken world. We do not see your world as broken. We came forth because those like this one have asked. They want to know, if I am the creator of my own reality, how is it so?
The phenomenon of channeling seems to be on the rise. I mean, there's a monthly magazine you can pick up that's full of them.
It's like the 5-minute mile or the 1-minute mile. In other words, until someone does it, others don't know they can do it. And then when they see someone doing it, if it is appealing to them, then they set forth a desire to do it also. Another thing that, and you've touched on this already, but this is really the answer to what you are just asking. The greater the contrast, the more ask. And the more who ask, the more the answers come. And then occasionally, someone like Esther listens.
I see what you mean.
Sometimes people will say, well, isn't it lovely that Esther puts herself in a position where she can receive all of these answers? And we say it's even lovelier that so many people have put themselves in the contrasting experience where they are asking the question. Because without the asking, there is no summoning of Source. And without the summoning of Source, there is not the continuation of life. So it is this perpetual unfolding, where contrast makes you ask, you're asking someone's Source, and now, as you practice allowing, you get in on it. Now, you see. Your world continues to thrive, it continues to be, because billions of people have experiences which cause them to ask, and Source energy comes forth. But if those billion people that are asking are vibrationally out of alignment with what they're asking for, then very few are reaping the benefits of what they're asking for. And when we say the time of awakening, what we really mean is more and more are putting themselves in the place where they're vibrationally in the place of allowing what they're asking for. And that's the creative wave that you're all wanting to ride. Imagine something happening in your experience which stimulates desire within you, and you knowing that all you have to do is focus and find a way of bringing yourself into vibrational alignment with the essence of what you're asking for. And then you get to witness the universe yielding to you the circumstances and events that help these things unfold. And you know that it is through your creative endeavor and alignment of energy that you are making this happen, you see. And then, as you receive the manifestation of that, guess what happens? You stand in a new vantage point with a new set of contrasting experiences which give birth to new desires, and then you start all over again. And people say, well, will I ever get it done? And we say joyously, no, never. You are an eternal being. You never get it done, and you cannot get it wrong. And the reason you can't get it wrong is because you never get it done. No matter where you're standing, you always have the opportunity to give birth to another desire. And Source is always going to answer that other desire, you see. So our work and your work and your work, what we're all about, is helping people come more and more into vibrational alignment with what they're asking for, so that you, in your life right now, get to receive the benefit of what you've been asking for, rather than the generation that follows you receiving the benefit of what you're asking for.